It's an amazing thing being able to give something to somebody who has nothing.
It's the greatest thing that I've run into.
It has been one of the highlights of my life.
I'm not necessarily trying to change the world. What I'm doing is changing the life of one other person.
If you had a chance to make a lasting difference in the world, to do something extraordinary, would you do it? Well, today you're going to have that chance. The chance to personally rescue one boy or girl and give them health, hope, and a future. Right now, there are kids living in horrific situations that you can't even begin to imagine. They're hungry, sick, neglected, and yes, sometimes abused. Each day is a tremendous fight for survival. But there is a proven solution, and it's World Vision Child Sponsorship. Now, I know sponsorship works. I've seen the way it changes not only children's lives, but entire communities. I'll tell you more about it in a few moments, but first, I want to take you inside the life of one very special child.
It's a torridly hot day at the city dump of San Salvador, the capital of El Salvador. The smells are unbelievable. Between the heat, the garbage, and the toxic waste, it's hard to believe that human beings are even allowed in here. But picking through this waste is how they survive. Scrambling to find food or anything that might be sold for a few pennies. In the midst of all this trash is a jewel, a little 10-year-old girl named Reina. She is one of the sifters, most of them children, who work in the dump each day, competing with each other for the bits of paper, glass and metal, and scraps of food. It's shocking to see such a beautiful little girl in such a horrible place. She should be in school or playing with friends. Instead, she works here all day, from 7 in the morning until 6 at night, picking through the garbage with her mom. If they're lucky, at the end of the day, they'll sell what they've collected for about $2. But the dump is not just where Reina works. It is where she lives with her mother and 4-year-old sister, Yesenia. When the river has water, they bathe there. If not, they don't get to wash. Because of the filth and pollution, many of the children have severe health problems. But children are resilient, and Reina still has hope in her heart. Yesterday, she found a teddy bear and brought it home to Yesenia. Their makeshift house is held up by drums with toxic waste symbols. She also found some baby chicks in the dump, dirty and dying. They'd actually been thrown out in someone's garbage. But some of them were still alive. She calls them her little boys. There are children like Reina all over the world. They need decent housing, good food, health care, and education. All the things World Vision Child Sponsorship can bring, with a little help from you.
Can you imagine any child having to live like this? It's unthinkable, isn't it? And yet every minute of every day, children suffer and die because they don't have the basic necessities every child deserves. Now you might be wondering, can I really make the difference for a child like this? Well, I'm here to tell you, yes, you can. And the best way you can do that is by sponsoring a child through World Vision. I've been involved with World Vision for nearly 20 years now, and I know beyond any doubt that you can trust World Vision. They have a 50-year track record of changing children's lives. As a child sponsor, you not only help one child, you help their family and their entire community. You see, World Vision works with families to attack the root causes of poverty, so your gifts make a lasting difference. More than 1 million children are living proof that sponsorship works. And one child is waiting for you to make that difference right now.
It just feels incredible. Out of all the things I've done in my life, this is one of the most rewarding and touching and heartwarming experiences I've ever done.
It's important that we help children in need because we can. Children can't always help themselves, and we have the ability to do it.
I feel good about myself doing something for someone else. That sounds a little self-serving, but it's really a case of you can't help but feel good when you know you're helping someone else.
I'm sure you've all heard about the devastating spread of AIDS in Africa. This is, by far, the greatest humanitarian crisis of our time. But what many people don't realize is that it has resulted in a generation of orphans, 13 million children whose parents have died in the epidemic. You know, that's more children than we have in all of Canada. Many of the children waiting for World Vision sponsors now are orphans. Some are living completely on their own because there are no living relatives left to care for them.
For Aseza, morning comes early. Her work begins at the crack of dawn. Aseza is only 9 years old, but she is both mother and father to her sister and 2 cousins. Aseza's father died of AIDS when she was just a toddler. Then her mother died too, and her aunt and uncle. Now Aseza and her little sister Alice live with their cousins, Sarah and Ronald, struggling to grow up, all alone. The children are lonely and afraid. They stick together as much as they can. Nightmares haunt these children, but when they wake up crying, there is no mother to comfort them. Their small, dark hut is infested with rats who go after the precious little food they have. An old sack spread on the cold ground and piled with rags is their bed. Alice and Ronald have been faithfully going to school, but they can't pay school fees and weren't allowed to take end-of-term exams. When they leave for school in the morning, Aseza fights back tears. She's the one who has to stay home and look after little Sarah. She's the one who searches for food and cooks their meals, usually a meager helping of cassava root. Cassava will ease the gnawing hunger pains, but it won't nourish growing bodies. Yet, day after day, Aseza soldiers on. And night after night, the children huddle together. This is a scene repeated all over Africa tonight. These children need someone to care about them, to help ensure they have food, a safe home, an education, basic health care, and hope for the future. You can give them that hope. You can reach out to just one child today and help change her life as a World Vision child sponsor.
It's not fair that these children have to work so hard to survive against all odds. They deserve better. They deserve a chance to grow up healthy, to be safe, to make something of themselves. Would you open your heart and help just one of these children today? As a World Vision child sponsor, your love and your support can turn a child's fear and sadness into hope. You can trust World Vision. They've designed unique programs to meet the special needs of orphans, so you can be confident that your gifts will be used wisely to provide the future each and every one of these children deserves. Right now, World Vision has many orphans on their waiting list. Children like Cristela, who's 9, from Haiti, and Paulus, a little 4-year-old from Indonesia, and Made from Mauritania. She's 7. All of these children are orphans, and you can make all the difference for one of them right now.
You've probably thought about sponsoring a child before. Please don't put it off. Now is the time to call. More children than ever are waiting today for a World Vision child sponsor. And you can trust World Vision. They've been helping children for over 50 years. They're the largest child sponsorship organization in the world and Canada's leading international charity. Hundreds of thousands of Canadians have sponsored children through World Vision. You can choose a boy or a girl, their age, and even their country when you call. In a few days, you'll get a sponsor kit with a color photo of your child and their personal story. You'll get a brochure with answers to your questions and a financial accounting of where your money goes. We'll send you an annual progress report and an updated photo every year so that you can see just how much your sponsored child is benefiting. Call now and sponsor a child. Sponsoring a child could be one of the most meaningful things you ever do. But know that if your circumstances change, you can cancel at any time and be assured you've made a difference. So pick up the phone and call the number on your screen today. Change a life. Change your own.
Over 1 million children here in Africa and right around the world are living proof that child sponsorship works. Every single one of these kids' lives is being transformed thanks to a caring Canadian child sponsor just like you. George here is sponsored by Margaret Edwards of Dundas, Ontario.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
For Margaret and her son John, child sponsorship has been an important part of their lives for over 11 years. In fact, it was John, when he was only 4 years old, who said to his mom, "We should call that number," when a World Vision program was on.
In the beginning, you say, well, it's just me. What difference am I going to make? And somebody else will do it, not knowing what the rewards to me and my family were going to be once we started doing it. And it took a 4.5-year-old boy to say, make the call. It was the best call I ever made.
Loves George.
While in Tanzania, we spent a day with George, then brought a copy of the video back to Margaret and John in Canada. A chance to see for themselves how they helped transform his life. World Vision worked with George's community to build new schools. He's in grade 6 and doing very well. His father receives agricultural training to help increase his harvest and generate income. The community clinic helps keep George strong and healthy so he can enjoy his favorite pastime, playing soccer with his friends. That's you. But one of the most important things in George's life is his relationship with his sponsor.
He saved John's pictures. He's feeling the same there as we're feeling here, and it's wonderful.
He knows as much about me as I know about him.
This is a great thing to do. You think that maybe you're making a difference in that little boy's life, but the difference you're making in your own life is pretty phenomenal.
$1 a day, if it's doing that much for somebody else's life, it's well worth it. It's building schools, it's saving lives, it's just one little dollar.
It's amazing. It's wonderful.
George, asante sana. Sakaka.
It's almost impossible to truly understand how desperate the situation is for so many of the thousands of boys and girls who are waiting to be sponsored. Hunger, sickness, and despair keep them from even dreaming of a better future. They live in conditions no child should ever have to endure. And all too often, young children are forced to carry burdens that are far too heavy for their little shoulders. Every day of their lives is a fight for survival. Here's what I mean.
What does it take to survive in the bush of Mozambique? For 8-year-old Chafule, it means hunting for his own food. Today he's done well. He found a nest of rats. To you and me, they're repulsive. To him, they're a lifesaver. His family's only source of protein. But they're also dangerous. They can carry bubonic plague. The scourge of the Middle Ages is rampant in these remote corners of our modern world. Chafule proudly takes his catch of rats back to the crumbling hut, where he lives with his mother and 3 sisters. Tonight, rats will be the family's meal. Since his father died a month ago, Chafule is now the man of the house. His mother, Lucia, is brokenhearted over the loss of her husband. And because her husband was sick, Lucia didn't have much of a harvest. Chifule feels responsible for feeding the whole family. It's hard to imagine an 8-year-old boy being burdened with such a responsibility, but he has no choice. Every day, Chifule and his sisters walk over a kilometer to the local mud hole. This is the water they drink and bathe in. It's a breeding ground for bacteria and parasites like bilharzia. Bilharzia is caused by parasitic worms that hatch eggs inside the body. Many kids die from it. Chifule has bilharzia. He also has a painful wound on his leg, which isn't healing. His mom puts herbs and a piece of animal skin on the wound, but now it's infected. Like other children here, he's never seen a doctor. The simplest illness is life-threatening. Nevertheless, Chifule is a true survivor. He has intelligence, courage, and determination. And now that World Vision has started working in his community, he, and all the children here, will have clean water, nutritious food, schooling, health care, and real hope. But we can't accomplish this without your help. We need thousands of people like you to sponsor a child like Chifule and help change precious lives.
Clean water, good food, a chance to go to school and feel loved and valued. These are the kinds of priceless gifts your help will provide to a very special child as a World Vision Child sponsor. This is one of those rare moments in life when you can do so much for so little. And you can be confident that your gifts can transform the world of a little girl or boy. Because your help is not a handout. World Vision works hand in hand with a community to solve its biggest problems in order to help its children. Now that's the best way to make a lasting difference. Right now, we have thousands of children on our waiting list. These are real children, like Jonah, who's 5, from Uganda, and Mary Jane from the Philippines. She's 6 years old. And Rosa, who's only 4, and she's from El Salvador. You can feel the joy that comes from changing a child's life forever.
When they sent me this little folder with the information on this picture of this little girl, her name was Martha, and she just seemed to speak to me because it touched my heart. And I thought, she's for me.
When I look at Oscar, he was a shrunken little face in a picture years ago, and now he's doing extremely well, and that makes me happy.
When I think about her, I just want to hug her, tell her that I love her, and hope that she's fine.
It starts with one, and if everybody sponsored one, then it would perpetuate into something great.
All over the world, sponsored children have grown up to become teachers, doctors, nurses, professors, Olympic athletes, artists, leaders in their communities and in their countries. And each and every one of them is passing on the legacy that started with someone like you. When you reach out to become a child sponsor and to welcome a child into your life, you help start a chain of events that can change their destiny. And the amazing thing is that it costs so little. You can help ensure that a child has things like nutritious food, clean water, a good education, health care, the things every child deserves. And most important of all, this child will know that someone far away, someone they may never ever meet, cared enough to make the difference in their lives.
Every day, Tisa Uki goes out to neighbors' fields looking for food. Fields that have already been harvested. She picks through the remains to find a little something that might be left behind. It's not much, but she's desperate. Tisauki's mother and father are dead. So at only 15, she's left alone to take care of her little brothers, 5-year-old Saukani and 3-year-old Leleso. The children live alone in this crumbling hut. With heavy rains, the house could collapse and they'll have nowhere to go. Tisauki's doing her very best to take care of her brothers. Their only source of water for drinking and bathing comes from an open water hole. Both of the boys are suffering from lack of food. Their puffy faces, orange hair, and swollen stomachs are signs of extreme malnutrition. Tattered t-shirts are the only clothes they own. Their skin is covered with scabies from parasites. It's becoming harder and harder to find food. Today, she stops by the grinding mill and does what only the most desperate women do. She scoops up the spilled flour left on the floor. With what she's managed to scavenge, she pulls together enough to fill their stomachs, for now. The boys often cry from pain and hunger. Soon they'll be